Hey, Shane with Shane Plays here. Going to do a first look and review of Out of the Abyss, which is the Dungeons and Dragons tabletop portion of the Rage of Demons storyline that is just now coming out. And what they're doing with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons now is, of course, the tabletop game is still considered sort of the core product, but it goes out into things like the Neverwinter massively multiplayer online role-playing game, and you have Sword Coast Legends, which is about to release from In Space, so there will be Rage of Demons content for that. I think some Whiz Kids miniatures and stuff. So it's sort of a multi-medium storyline, but of course it's hitting huge right in the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition universe. Here it is, looks great. That's always not always, but it is becoming a hallmark of 5th edition. Is just the books look great and the artwork is fantastic. Before I get started, it's a review in the sense that I'm going to review what my impressions of it are after having read through it. It's obviously not a review of playtesting. I can't really speak to game balance or anything like that. But I like what I see. There's not really a whole lot I don't like. I will touch on various points, and I'll try to keep this review fairly short, between 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. It's first look. There and review. There will be a companion blog post at shaneplays.com, and that will be listed in the notes for this video. If you like the video on YouTube, it's a huge help to me. If you do it a thumbs up, give it a like, and leave a comment. I'm not asking for pity. I'm just saying that this book costs $50 to get it ahead of time and to do a review on it. So if you appreciate it, just hey, leave a thumbs up, and but you don't have to. I hope you enjoy it regardless. So what Rage of Demons is it's the first major 5th edition foray into the Underdark, which is the huge underground world that when did it first come into? At least 2nd edition. I'm not sure if it was with us in 1st edition or not. Maybe somebody can leave a comment. But of course, the famous NPC character, not fiction character, whatever, Drizzt Do'Urden, and I'm probably saying it wrong, the Drow ranger with the dual wielding scimitar, came out of the Underdark from the Drow city of Minzo Bronzin. Once again, I'm probably saying it wrong, so go easy on me. I love D&D. But I don't pronounce everything right, especially, when a lot of times I read the names and don't hear them spoken a lot. So, um, the book itself, this will actually be available starting tomorrow. Today's the 14th. It'll be available street on the 15th. I got it from my local bookstore, or game store, I should say, early. The Wizards of the Coast has a program where some game stores get the books, core rule books and such, a few days early. So I've had it since last weekend. I've been looking through it, trying to get a sense of it, so that I could tell you about it. And like I said, I do like it. I'll, I may have some minor quibbles, not a lot. I may share some stuff I don't like. Overall, I think it's a good product, and I think that uh, people will like it, even if they don't want to use it as a um, as a campaign. And it's set up, make no mistake, as a campaign. It says right on the back. I don't know if you can see that or not, but for uh, 1 through 15, levels 1 through 15. So you could take player characters all the way from first level through 15th level, and that's a lot of playtime with the campaign that's in here. It's multiple connected adventures, and the best I could tell, everything stays in the Underdark. You never go above ground, which is pretty crazy. That's a lot of time to spend in the Underdark. So I'll also try to avoid major spoilers in this review. So if you're a player, feel free to watch this. It shouldn't spoil anything, if much at all, for your DM. And you players out there, don't read ahead on your DM. I'm a DM, and I have a couple players that are new to it, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I read that," and I'm like, that's not how it works. You really need to be surprised for the true experience of the game. So be good to your DMs and don't read ahead. Um, so right off the bat, you got to love that artwork, okay? And I know it's kind of shiny with the light on it, but that's the Demon Lord Demogorgon. And as you can see, he's kind of rampaging around, and I won't say why or what's going on, but that's a part of the campaign. and I don't think this is spoiling anything. Fairly early on, you realize that something terrible has happened in the Underdark, which is already a pretty dangerous place to begin with. So, what does Out of the Abyss include? Well, I'll tell you, it has 254 pages. It's got 17 chapters, 4 appendices, and one afterward. So there's the table of contents. Lots of sections for your enjoyment. Little explanation on the cover artwork, and that says that Tyler Jacobson illustrates Demogorgon, the Prince of Demons, rampaging, and I won't say through where, after being ripped from the abyss by, and I won't say by who. So try not to spoil anything, but he's on a rampage. Um, Amongst all that goodness, all those pages and whatnot, in addition to the campaign setting, you get new background options that are Underdark specific, maybe kind of explain why your character's in the Underdark. You get new magic items, including a magical sword that is afraid to be left alone, new creatures, and stats for the demon lords, multiple demon lords, and these things are very high uh, challenge rating. And it also has good descriptions on how these demon lords interact with each other. So, as with other, as I mentioned, as with other products in the 5th edition line, great production values, great artwork. Um, and there's a photo gallery. If you go to shaneplays.com and look for the companion blog post for this review and first look, I put a photo gallery there with some stuff I scanned out. Well, 99% of it I scanned out of the book, and I grabbed a couple of images from the internet, but most of it I scanned out. So, and I tried to show a good range of the kind of artwork without, again, including major spoilers. So, but it's got great values, design, artwork. 5th edition. You can't fault 5th edition and the Wizards Coast crew uh, for the design values of their books for 5th edition. And by the way, this was done in conjunction with Green Ronin Publishing. Right there in the back, there's some stuff about Green Ronin. I'm not sure how they work together. I know that Green Ronin did quite a bit for this in conjunction with the staff. I think Jeremy Crawford, Mike Merles, Chris Perkins, other folks at at Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. So there's a Demon Lord for you and a stat block. Won't show a whole lot of that. Uh, Try not to get too specific. But you do get new creatures and stats and all that stuff. So what's it all about? Well, if I had to sum it up, I would say that Out of the Abyss is Cloverfield meets the Underdark meets Alice in Wonderland as a Drow Archmage unleashes a terror on the Underdark and madness permeates the already dangerous and mysterious realm. Yeah, you heard me right. Alice in Wonderland? Yep. Chris Perkins himself. He mentions that he has a forward in the book, and he mentions that Alice's adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass was part of the inspiration for this storyline. Don't get too worried. It's not silly or whimsical. It kind of fits in. What he's trying to say is Alice in Wonderland and all, it was kind of weird. All these weird happenings and creatures and personalities, and you run into stuff like that in the Underdark and Out of the Abyss. So Cloverfield, well, yeah, and nobody else does Cloverfield. That's my thing. Because there's a big, huge, nasty beastie rampaging through the Underdark and leaving ruins and madness in its wake, which I find extremely cool. So, yeah, Alice in Wonderland meets the Underdark meets Cloverfield, and you start the game as very low level, first level. You can start as second or third, but I mean they recommend first level. Or they say you can start as low as first level, and you work your way all the way up through 15th level, and you're in the Underdark the entire time. So, pretty crazy stuff. So, and what about? Let's just go ahead and address this right now. I know there's people who are probably wondering, what about a certain dual-wielding dark elf ranger named Dritz Do'Urden? Did I say named Dritz Do'Urden? And I'm probably saying that wrong. Please forgive me. Mea culpa. I love D&D and all the characters. Can't we all just get along? But anyway, can you have an Underdark campaign without Dritz? Well, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I'll say this. he, as a character, is confirmed for the Rage of Demons storyline, and that's, I don't know if you can see here, this Out of the Abyss is part of the Rage of Demons storyline. Um, and that's the multi-platform storyline, right? Multi-game types and whatnot that all use D&D as its core. Computer games, tabletop, you name it. Novels. However, and I'm saying if, big if he appears in Out of the Abyss, I got to say the story and the adventure are the characters, not an NPCs. No matter how famous that NPC may be, you're not sidekicks, right? It's your adventure. You're in control, and you're not outshadowed. Can I even say? Yeah, Underdark's full of shadows. No pun intended. So, well, like I said, they begin as first level characters, and then they work their way up through a climactic encounter with the very demon lords themselves. And you have to. I mean, it's everybody knows the demon lords is in this, so I don't think that's a big spoiler. That eventually you're going to run into the demon lords, but I'm not going to say how you get there, or why you get there, or what your purpose is. And in all the way, you encounter many exciting locations and events and encounters, and those encounters are set and random. This isn't the Underdark however. It's, um, to begin with, the Underdark is already kind of off kilter a little bit. There's some crazy stuff going on. Uh, but the terror that's been unleashed in the storyline is in evidence, so much so that the game or the campaign uses a mechanic that's very similar to the sanity check from Call of Cthulhu games, where there's this constant madness, and certain events may add some madness to your characters, and they can eventually build up into some very unwelcome conditions or things that your characters have to deal with. And it uses there's madness rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide that it references back to, but there's specific tables in here that deal with well, I guess that's a gelatinous cube. Um, but there's some madness rules. Let me see if I can find them fairly quickly. I don't want to spend all my time hunting through the rule book. Um, well, I had it earlier, but anyway, there's actually madness tables and rules that you roll on. And you can accumulate madness, very similar to the sanity rules in Call of Cthulhu. Very nice artwork, spread throughout the game or through the book. Very nice artwork. Lots of very well realized locations. Here's something. This is interesting to me. Okay, so that's the Underdark. I'm assuming you can see that. And I don't know if you can see the hexes. I don't know if yeah, it's not picking it up. I don't have my camera on autofocus. Yeah, there you go. See those little hexes? Well, each one of those is 24 miles. So look at that. I mean, each one of those little hexes is 24 miles. And the movement rate is reduced from overland traveling. There's rules in here specifically for the movement rate. So this is a very large area. I mean, this is huge, and it's cool if you got the Dark Lake, you got the worm writhings, um, you have Chasm Leak Bridge, the Labyrinth, Gallery of Angels, Spiral of the Horned King, Neverlight Grove, Gontal Grim, Graven Hollow, of course, Minzo Baranzan. So many cool locations and areas in here. And you have the upper dark, the middle dark, the lower dark. Some stuff goes through all depths. Very, very cool. I like it a lot. Oh, here's the madness rules. Yeah. At the best of times, and I'm reading, there's a thing in here on madness. At the best of times, the Underdark is a bizarre, alien, and inhospitable world, but the influence of the blank has transformed it into a domain of madness and chaos. So you can have one or more characters make a saving throw against madness whenever one of the following events occurs, and there's specific things that can trigger. You have to do a saving throw against madness, and then your level of madness can be a bout of short-term madness, a bout of long-term madness, or a bout of indefinite madness. So that's so much of what this campaign is about is the atmosphere, and people are either going to love it or hate it for the atmosphere. So that's very much a part of the atmosphere that that's going on. So um, anyway, let's see. Old favorite races and new ones make appearances. Let me see. Wrote some notes here. You will. Let's see. What the heck happened to my? Um, you got Drow, of course. You can't have the Underdark without Drow, dark elves. Duergar, they're kind of dark dwarves. Uh, Quotoa, Illithids, the Mind Flayers, Gnolls, Orcs, Darrow, which there's actually information here on a new race called Darrow, even though I'm pretty sure I've heard that name before. Maybe they've updated it, I don't know. And of course, Beholders and that sort of thing. So uh, there's just a lot of really cool stuff in here. So statistics, encounters, game balance, math, all that stuff aside, the actual rules of it. Um, as I said, since the Underdark is so atmospheric, much of whether DMs and players will like Out of the Abyss or not, I think will depend on the atmosphere itself more so than most other products. Like, the Dragons storyline they first involving Tiamat, and then they did the Elemental Evil storyline, and now they have Rage of Demons. I really think, this is so atmospheric that so much. You got, right there. That sums up the Underdark. Crazy dark fungus. These funguses can infect people and bust up through their head and turn them into spore servants, and these people are shuffling around with spores growing out of their head. It's just creepy and nasty and weird. Um, there's another example of it. So it's think Moria from Tolkien with a much nastier, larger scope and just nastier stuff going on, and it's going to mess with your head. So so dissection headings like Fungi of the Underdark, the Pudding King, the Fetid Wedding, the Worm Writhings, does that appeal to you? Do you like the idea of madness building up in your characters? Do like creepy unhinged encounters appeal to you? As well as not seeing sunlight for 15 levels. Do you want to run into a spore servant? I was just talking about that, or perhaps a drow, whose head is burst open with spores sticking through its head like an awful crown. Does that appeal to you? Do you want to run into demon lords and just create Loth, queen of spiders? Just crazy stuff, man. Um, the Underdark and its locations are fascinating, and its denizens are fascinating. But you got demon lords with challenge ratings that are making an adult red dragon run and hide. Do you want to deal with that? So, um, you know, that's the thing. It may not be for everybody. Going this deep, 15 levels of campaign, and I'm pun only slightly intended, going this deep into the Underdark may not be for everyone. That being said, Out of the Abyss is very well done. It's very well done. It has great descriptions of the motivations of the races and cultures of the Underdark, and monsters and locations exist within a defined, interconnected ecosystem, if you will, that makes sense and is more than just a token effort is offered to explain how this ecosystem works together and how different cultures interact. Just perusing through the book, I felt both wonder, like, wow, this is really cool, and just that dread and claustrophobia of the Underdark. So price value. I gotta go grognard for a little bit, and grognard means an old gamer. It's from the French word old soldier. This thing's $50, and the inner grognard in me kind of rebels against that. I've been buying all the books, or most of the books, for 5th edition, and $50 per book, I just balk at that. Even though you can get it cheaper from Amazon and other places, I'm sure your local game store maybe would sell it to you cheaper if you're a routine customer. I don't know, depending on what programs you offer. It should be noted, however, that's kind of a normal price tag these days. So, uh, that's that's just me being a grognard. Oh, $50. Maybe it's kind of a normal price these days. And you can get it cheaper elsewhere. I paid a full price to get an early copy, but that was my choice. I wouldn't pay full price normally if I could avoid it. So what am I saying? I guess I'm saying $50 seems steep to me for any rule book. But in these days, in this world, these days in time, it's well worth the price. And there's legal ways around it, Amazon, whatever, or your local game store. Like, there's um, a sponsor of my radio show, Game Goblins in Little Rock, they have a a customer loyalty program that can help you out. And if you're a first-time listener of Shane Plays, you can go to Game Goblins, and if you spend over $50, you'll get $10 off. So, and this isn't intended to be an ad for Game Goblins. I'm just giving an example of the way that you can get it cheaper. In summary, I mean, it's marketed as an adventuring campaign for characters 1st through 15th level, and that's a lot of campaign. But the book is rich enough to be used for one-off adventures. There's several encounters, and so you could adapt easily to one-off adventures or just a few levels worth of adventures. You could use it for a campaign or just a setting. I mean, you could use this and build your own stuff. There's so much information in here. You could build your own campaign out of it and run it a whole different way than the Rage of Demons storyline. If you're a fan of the Underdark, you definitely need to pick this up. So I find myself in the position of having enjoyed studying and reading through Out of the Abyss, but wishing I had not done so, even though I would, I want to do a review over it. But in a perfect world, I wouldn't have done so, or I could forget it, so I could start it fresh as a player and for all the cool stuff that's going to happen. So, it's really neat. I'll try to pick out some artwork here for you real quick. Let's take a gander. You can always go to shaneplays.com, the link in the notes for this video, and you can see more of the artwork. There's the Pudding King. Lots of fantastic. There's some drow, a group of drow. I think at one time your characters are hunted by a drow party, and I think maybe that's them. I love this one. This is very Moria-esque, where this party of adventurers has found, looks like the gates to Gauntlgrim, and I think Gauntlgrim is where Bruenor Battlehammer is. Yep, there he is. There's Bruenor. That's one of my favorite pieces of artwork. I just love how they made him look. Of course, the alliances are in here that are a hallmark of the Forgotten Realms. The Harpers, Order of the Gauntlet, Emerald Enclave, Lord's Alliance, etc. Zentarum. Got some stats. Yay, stats. Who doesn't love stat blocks? There's a lot going on in here. I mean, maps, just constant maps. Like I said, you have set encounters, random encounters, and the many of the characters and encounters are well fleshed out. It's not just, hey, you run into a beholder. It's you run into a beholder that holds sway over his subjects and they think he's a god. So that kind of thing. There's this kind of labyrinth that's very cool. There's this gallery of angels that's very neat. There's just some really neat stuff going on in here. Really, really like this a lot. So I could keep going. I want to keep this video short. Yeah, here's that gallery of angels, these statues. Of course, when you first look at it, you're like, oh, that's the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, but it's not. That's a very, very cool piece of artwork. So anyway, in closing, yeah, I'd pick it up. It's if you're into D&D at all, or if you're not into D&D and you like the novels and stuff of the Forgotten Realms and you want to know more about how it all works, I'd pick it up. It's pretty cool. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I love doing these reviews as part of the Shane Plays website and radio show and podcast. Make sure to, like I said, it helps a lot if you like this video. Just leave a like on Facebook, leave a comment. Visit the website, the companion post on the website, look at the photo gallery. I just appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for watching the Shane Plays first look review of Out of the Abyss from Dungeons & Dragons first edition. And subscribe to me on YouTube as well. I'd appreciate that. Thanks so much, and I hope you have happy hunting in the Underdark and that your madness stays at a manageable level.